student friends. Welcome to the Introduction to Python Programming Lab series for first year VTU students. So in the previous two videos I have discussed about first lab program, that is 1A and 1B. In today's session I'll discuss about the next lab program, that is 2A, develop a program to generate Fibonacci sequence of length n, and we have to read the n from the console. So before we could start writing the program for getting the Fibonacci sequence, we should know what is Fibonacci first. So Fibonacci is a series of integer numbers, so whose first term starts with 0 and the second term of Fibonacci sequence is 1, and from third term onwards, that is from third number onwards, it is the sum of previous two numbers, that is 0 plus 1 1, then 1 plus 1 2, then 1 plus 2 is 3, then 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, then 5 plus 8 13, then 8 plus 13 21, 31 plus 21 34, then 21 plus 34 is 55, and so on. So this is what we have to print. If the value of n is 5, I have to print the first 5 numbers in Fibonacci sequence. So let's write a Python code for that. So for that, first let us read the value of n from the console. So we'll define the variable n equal to, we need to use the function int, then input function to take the input from the user. So whatever input user enters, input by default it is a string, we need to convert that into integer and store it back, that particular integer value, in a variable n. So let us give a message to the user, enter the value of n. After this, we need to define another two variables initially to initialize the first two values in Fibonacci sequence, that is first term and second term. I can give the variable name anything I want. I can define it as first term and second term, or else it's better I now define as a equal to first term as a, which is equal to 0, second term as b, which is equal to 1, right? So after this, now suppose we need to consider all the cases here. Suppose user enters the invalid integer value, so a message must be given to the user that please enter a valid integer, right? So we'll use the if statement. If the value of n is less than or equal to 0, so we need to print a message in the console, print please enter a valid integer. Elif, then one more cases. Now if the user enters the value of n as 1, so it should display the first number in the Fibonacci sequence, that is Fibonacci series up to 1, right? If n, value of n is equal to 1, so let us print message Fibonacci sequence or series up to 1. So what is the first term in Fibonacci sequence? We need to just print the value of a. Okay, we need to just print the value of a. Just print that a. So let us test this before we proceed for a value of n greater than 2. Let me just execute it. Now suppose user enters 1. Okay, you can just see now this logic is getting executed. Fibonacci sequence up to 1, which is 0, right? Now suppose if a user, let me execute it again. Suppose user enters a negative number, you can see a message is being displayed to the user, please enter a valid integer. Now let us write a logic so that to get the Fibonacci sequence more than 2, okay, or equal to 2. Else, right, either we can use for loop or while loop. Okay, so let us print first print a message. Fibonacci sequence up to, that is the value of n. Now we need to write a logic for that. Okay, suppose if I want to use while loop, right, if I want to use a while loop, or else if I want to use for loop, so for loop is written like this: for is the keyword, then followed by the variable, then in keyword, then comes range function, then based on the value of n I need to iterate it. So if the value of n is equal to 5, that for loop will get executed 5 times, right? If I want to print the Fibonacci sequence up to series up to 5, so if the value of n is equal to 5, so it will print first 5 numbers in Fibonacci sequence. So what is the logic we have to write for this? So first, every time we need to print the value of a. That's what we are supposed to do. So what we have to do is we need to create another variable here, right? We need to create another variable that we'll call it as c. First, we need to print the value of a, correct? Then what we'll do, we'll put what does Fibonacci sequence tell? So it is first two numbers are 0 and 1, and from third term onwards it is sum of previous two numbers. Now we need to write a logic so that previous two numbers gets added, right? And the value of a and b, we need to keep on updating it, right? Suppose this is third digit is 1, fourth digit is 2, next is 3. Now we need to print first 1, then first the not 1, that is 0, first digit, first number in Fibonacci sequence. Then we need to print second number in Fibonacci sequence, that is 1, then third number, fourth number, fifth number, and so on. So every time we are printing the value of a, every loop, we need to keep on updating the value of a, so that we'll get the Fibonacci sequence, okay, based on the value of n. So how we'll update it? So equal to, so a plus b. So this expression will get us the sum of previous two numbers, that is a and b. It means what? We need to keep on updating the value of a and b. What we have to do? We have to assign the value of a, we have to assign the value of b to a, and value of c to b, like this: a equal to b, b equal to c, correct? A equal to b, b equal to c. Suppose the value of let me just explain you the logic and write those steps over here. Okay, suppose the value of n is equal to, suppose say there is 4. Now for I in range 4, right, for I in range 4, this loop will run 4 times. So the value of I when the loop is running, I will be 0, correct? If you put only one integer value, okay, if you put just one integer value here, that is 4, if you just put one argument, so the value of n, so by default the range function always starts with 0. So value of I is 0. So value of c is what? That is 0 plus 1. This is first iteration, okay, this is first iteration here, which is equal to 1. Then now output, let me write it here. The value of n is 0. Now first, when value of n is 4, first iteration the value of I is 0, right? Let me write the output. then it will print the first value of in Fibonacci sequence, that is A, which is 0, which is 0. Then it will update the value of A, which is equal to B, which is 1. Then B equal to C, which is, what is the value of C here? What is the value of C? C is also 1, right? Now, so this completes your first iteration, first for loop. In the second for loop, that is second iteration, since the value of n is 4, thus for loop will run 4 times. Second iteration, the value of I will be 1. Then it will print the value of A again. What is the value of A? Previous value of A, it is 1. This is what it will take, and it will print the output here, right? Then it will again update the value of C, which is equal to A plus B. What is the value of A? Previous value 1. What is the previous value of B? Which is, sorry, which is 1. So C gets updated to 2. So A will be equal to B, which is equal to 1 again. Then B will be equal to C, which is equal to 2 now. Alright, this is first iteration. Not first iteration, second iteration. Now third iteration. Third iteration, the value of I is equal to 2. C gets updated 1. So what is the value of B? So what is the value of A? A is 1. B is 2. So C gets updated to 3. Next, A will be equal to B. What is the previous value of B? Which is 2. Then B equal to C. What is the value of C? C now? It is 3. So this completes your third iteration. Now I'm coming to the third iteration. I forgot to tell that in the third iteration, in the first iteration it is printing 0. Second iteration it is printing again, printing the value of A as 1. Third iteration, you can just see, again it is printing the value of A. So here, what is the previous value of A here? It is 1. So 1. Fourth iteration, value of I is equal to 3. Then it will print the value of A. It will go inside the for loop. It will print the value of A. What is the value of A in the previous iteration? It is 2. It will print that 2 here. This is the output for what we will be getting. Then it will again update the value of C. C is what? A plus B. What is the value of A previously? Which is 2. Then plus previous value of B is 3, which is equal to 5. Then A equal to B. What is the value of B now? B will be equal to 3. So now A gets updated to 3 and B gets updated to, that is the value of C, which is 5. Correct? Now coming to the fifth iteration. Fifth iteration, the value of I is equal to 4. Now once the value of I is equal to 4, since it is a for loop, the value of I n is 4. So in a range function, so the syntax of range function is like this. Range, first argument is start, the second argument is end, and third argument is step size. Now here, if you are only specifying one argument, okay, that is by default end, and start by default is taken as 0. Step size you can specify if you want a step size of whatever you want, or else you can just leave it. So here the value of n is 4, that is end is equal to 4, and in case of range function end is always excluded. So while iterating using a range function using for loop, so if I take range of 4, so value of I starts from 0, 1, 2, 3. When the value of I becomes 4, so this for loop is completed, it will come out of the for loop, and whatever logic, whatever code is written after the for loop, it will get executed. Now here the value of n is 4. Now it is coming out of the for loop. Once it comes out of the for loop, that is done. So this is what is the output for you. You can just see if the value of n is equal to 4, it is printing the first 4 numbers in Fibonacci sequence. This is how the logic runs. Okay, let me just remove this now. And this completes your code. And let me just execute this. Suppose if the value of n is 4, as I said, as I explained you, if I enter the value of n equal to 4, you can just see it is printing the first 4 numbers in Fibonacci sequence up to 4. Okay, is equal to what? 0, 1, 1, 2. Now you can just see the output. Instead of printing the Fibonacci sequence in horizontal line, it is printing the output in vertical line, right? So after 0, instead of printing 1 after 0, it is printing in the next line. If I want the output to be printed on the same line, I have to give here the keyword argument, that is end. Why it is taking that new line is because if I press here shift tab in between this parenthesis, you can just see what is the default value of end here. Okay, end is a keyword argument. End, there are two keyword arguments, separator and end, for a print statement. So end by default it is /n, that is new line. So every time when you use print statement, whatever statement you have inside this print statement, it gets printed in the next line. If I want it to be printed on the same continuous line, same line, what I have to do, I have to just modify that keyword argument to a space. Okay, I have to add a space here. If you don't add a space, all these numbers gets printed continuously. Now if I just execute this, suppose if I put the value of n equal to 4, you can just see now the output in a single line. So again, if I execute it, even if I enter the value of n equal to 10, I can just see Fibonacci sequence up to 10, it will print the first 10 numbers in Fibonacci sequence. So this was using a for loop here. So instead of using for loop, I can use a while loop also. Rest all logic remains same. Let me just copy this and let me execute it using while loop as well. So using while loop, I have to initialize one more variable here, count equal to 0. Then this logic remains same. Okay, this we cannot modify. Okay, this we cannot modify. So instead of this, we have to use while loop. While value of n is less than, not value of n, if count is less than n. Let me put this expression condition in brackets. Now if I leave it here only, what is the value of count which we have initialized at the beginning? It is 0. So what while loop does is, so every time when this while loop is running, the value of count is always 0. We need to keep on updating this value of count, correct? If the count is less than n, it keeps on executing this particular while loop. If count exceeds the value of n, this while loop gets terminated. If you don't increment it, So what will happen? This while loop will go into infinite loop. So it keeps on running continuously. So we have to increment the value of count here. Count equal to count plus 1. So instead of writing this expression, we need to keep on updating the value of count. This is how we have to do it. Previous column value of count will be 0 and next value will be 0 plus 1, which is 1. We need to keep on updating it, okay, when this while loop is executing continuously. So instead of writing it this way, this expression can be shortened by using augmented assignment operator, that is plus equals 1, which is same as count equal to count plus 1. If I execute this, if I put the value of n as 5, you can just see you are getting the output. Now if I again execute this, if I put the value of n equal to 10, you can just see the output. You're getting the same output, right? So this completes your lab program number 2A. So method 1 using for loop and method 2 using while loop.